Welcome back, everyone. I am the Depressed Dior, and this is Middara and Tabletop Simulator. We do have reluctant partnership, so we go to Stop Fighting, page 445. There we go. Stop fighting. Yeah. With one last gasp, the butcher fell dead at their feet. Nightingale slumped against the wall for a second, catching her breath. They had taken all they had to bring down that abomination, and as it twitched at their feet, the group recovered from the hard fight. Echo straightened and reached up to rub at the shoulder where her arm had been torn off not long ago. A little blood still seeped from where the Soul Stitcher had sewn it back on, oozing out of her clothes and trickling down her side. Echo looked at her hand, covered in blood, and stared at it blankly. The evil glint in her eye was gone. "You saved me." A smile slowly spread across her face as she looked down at the butcher. "I think that thing might have hurt the Soul Stitcher. That means we could." Damocles smashed into her with a tackle, and that hit like a freight train and took them both to the ground. Blood splattered from one of Echo's fresh stitches as they fell, and her dagger slid across the floor. "We didn't save you." Damocles drew his dagger and pressed the dull silver blade to her neck. "This death is mine. This is for my mom." Zephyr grabbed Damocles by the shoulder and sent him sprawling away across the floor. He recovered quickly, rolling to his feet, but Zephyr stood between Damocles and Echo. "I just got her back. I won't let you take her away." "I don't care who she was to you. Look at what she's done. Maybe you don't care about my family, but what about everyone else's? Or everything else? Nightingale, the Aegistone, the Pontifex?" Bria and Ezra hesitated, watching nervously. They didn't move from where they stood. "See? Even your cronies know that it was your feelings for Echo that made you lose the Pontifex in the first place," Damocles yelled. Patrick and Shayless raised their weapons and stepped between the two. "Both of you, back off," Patrick demanded. Neither of them moved. Shayless stared harshly at Damocles. "We have more important things to worry about." His eyes went wide, but Shayless cut him off. "I promise Echo will get what she deserves." She took a few steps closer. "We're down here because we need the Pontifex to save Nightingale. Anything either you do to threaten our survival threatens her as well. You don't want to do that around me." The glint in her eyes made it plain that she was serious about her sister's safety. "No," he finally said. Zephyr waited another second longer, then did the same. "Here's our compromise," Shayless continued. "I don't trust either of you with Echo, so the rest of us will take shifts watching her. Echo, you'll come with us. You'll keep your mouth shut and help when I tell you. Otherwise, I'll let Damocles cut your throat. Got it?" Echo nodded, and Zephyr moved to her side to help her up. They locked eyes, and Zephyr embraced her. "I thought you were dead," he whispered. "You can't all this time." Echo buried her head into Zephyr's chest. "I tried. He wouldn't let me." Zephyr muttered, running one hand through her bloody hair. "I won't let Charon take you again. You're safe now." "I'm not." Echo shoved him away. "I don't know what happened to the Soul Stitcher, but it isn't dead. When it comes back, I'll just lose control all over again." "Where is the Soul Stitcher now?" Rook, brave enough to interrupt them, asked. "Gone." "Gone?" Rook raised an eyebrow. "When it's killed, it leaves for a moment. I suspected it would have returned by now, but it hasn't. Maybe it has something to do with the Shadow Lord's lair." Echo looked around as if seeing the place for the first time. "The Shadow Lord would be strong enough to banish it, maybe even kill it for good." Shayless held out one hand. "Weapons, please." What if we run into something I need to fight?" Echo asked desperately. "Then we'll protect you." Echo scowled, glancing briefly at Zephyr, but even he didn't come to her defense. After a moment, she sighed. "Fine, take them." Shayless shoved them into a bag before returning to leave. "Patrick, tie Echo's hands. Rook, take the lead." As they made their way back to the bloody trail in its downward slope, Zephyr pulled Nightingale aside. Nightingale tensed as Illuma screamed for her to get away from him. For a moment, she saw visions of him shoving a dagger into her gut, but instead of stabbing her, Zephyr met her eyes with his own ancient ones weary. "Princess Nightingale, you saved someone dear to me when no one else would." He looked away and hesitated. "I won't forget that. Please, promise me you'll help Echo. I'd rather not have to kill you." "Is that your way of saying thanks?" "Yeah, of course. I know what it's like to have something trying to control me." I want a promise, Zephyr said, forcing her to meet his eyes. He put out one hand, waiting for her. An oath. I help you get to Pontifex, and you save the one I love, no matter what happens to me. Nightingale felt ill from all the fighting and running, and didn't want to have to deal with Zephyr being upset. Besides, if he really did help to remove the Maluma, then it wasn't much of a price to pay in exchange. She took his hand. I swear, you save me, I save her. Mark the story flag a helping hand on the adventure sheet. All the way down here. Running out of flags to go to. Shrug. So 446, same page. They followed the trail up to a set of massive double doors that rose 30 feet above them. A sense of impending dread fell over them as they stared. From behind the doors, a small clicking sound began, and as the noise got louder, the Rook noticed that the doors were slightly opened. Nightingale moaned. Don't tell me that's another gatekeeper. The clicking stopped from behind the door. A muffled voice called, I can leave. Lakshmi? Rook stepped forward. Lakshmi peeked through the crack, holding up a lantern in one hand. I was drawn to this place, though I never thought I'd find a repeat customer. Zeke jumped toward her, grinning eagerly. I don't suppose you're about to be eternally enslaved to a Shadow Lord discount. Lakshmi stopped, shaking her head cheerfully. Unfortunately not. Even I have to make a living. Zeke raised an eyebrow. Do you? Whatever. So long as you've got smokes in there somewhere. She began dumping items from her bag. Please move quickly. I hope we can all find our destinies today. Restore Adventurers. Story round Lakshmi the Traveling Merchant, 447. Alright. One random rare unique item. Which is the Swallow. Alright, so it kind of has a neat ability where against non-boss combatants, you can essentially hide yourself from their targeting. But I never use swallows, ever. Anyway, 3 random, mundane, common, uncommon, unique relics and accessories. So it says relics and accessories. Uncommon, unique relics and accessories. Alright, nothing there. Nothing there. So pretty much that just adds the sentient bodysuit, which I will buy because that's 30 gold's well worth the effort. In any case, you can probably guess this is our last shop. So we got to make it count. So I know what's coming. If you recall, I did mention we had probably 3 battles left, and one of them was optional. We've done 2 so far, which means we have the last one, which oddly enough is optional, though I would argue I wouldn't say it's optional for most people. So we do have experience we need to spend, and we need to make some stuff happen here. So for Shayless, I really want to maximize her damage, but I think what I want her to have is mobility. So I am probably thinking of doing Like the Shadows. Like the Shadows will cost, let's see, 3, 4, 5. It'll cost her 6 experience points. But it'll give her some additional mobility. Okay. Nightingale has 10 experience points to spend. So the question is what do I use it on? I could give her, I can't give her Magebreaker. No, I don't have there's no way I can afford Magebreaker. Because I have to get a tier 1 Marshal first before I can do anything else. 3. Everything Nightingale has is all subterfuge. It's all of it subterfuge. Every bit of it. It's so crazy. I could get down the masses. Forebode? Forebode. So 3, 4, 5. It'll cost 6 experience. Actually, 3, 4, 5. It'll cost 7 experience points to get Forebode. We're gonna get Forebode. 7 experience points for Forebode. Putting her down to 3. Rook. I think I'm just gonna get him a tier. The problem is that tier 4s are just so not useful. Only the truth, inspiration. I'm just gonna get him inspiration. Just get that up. It has its uses. I usually forget about it is the problem. But 9 experience points, that'll take care of Rook. Alright. I don't know if I'm allowed to spend anything on Justice. But it's honestly irrelevant at this point. Damocles. Follow through, Blade Distortion, Imbued Fear, Blood Pact, Blade Works, Sinful Privilege, in Secret. Let's get him. He watches. Which will cost him 9. Okay. Alright. Zephyr. When another ally with an SOI would be defeated by an opponent, they are not defeated. Yeah, let's do invincibility. That sounds amusing. So it'll cost him 8 experience. Patrick, what do you got going on for you? Speed and Justice, kill the messenger. Let's get him aspect. Three, 4, 5. So this will cost him 6. Okay. Alright, that leaves Zeke and Remy. Zeke can't afford anything. Nope. He cannot afford anything. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, not without a respec. So that leaves Remy. I believe when an ally with an SOI would be dealt damage, no, don't want that. There's another ability, Last Laugh. If you or a loyal Esper is defeated, the figure that that dealt the damage is dealt 2 conviction dice worth of magic damage, or their 2 conviction dice worth of magic damage. When you or a loyal Esper is dealt damage by an opponent, you may deal the source of that damage 2 irreducible damage. Remy. Three, 4. It'll cost her 5 to get that ability. Putting her down to 7. I think we might get BFF just to cap her off as far as all those fancy abilities. So 5. Yep, I'll cost her 6. So we'll go ahead and give her that. So 6 experience. Puts her at that. Just making sure that's correct, because I think I bought mostly level 7s. Or level 3s, rather. Yeah, the only level 2 I had was summoning, so that will only make it cost 6. Okay, so that takes care of all the experience. Now, Shadow Lord's coming. Now the question is what team will I take with me? The only thing Rook would be providing if I take him along is Font of Renewal and a Revive. If I'm dying, it's probably game over one way or the other. So I'm probably gonna have Rook. I'm probably gonna bench Rook. We need this monocle. Hands down, we need this monocle. Someone needs to use it. It's our only source of nemesis. As for who we're going to take instead, I want Bria to go ahead and switch over to Shayless. Okay. Let's go ahead and spend 30 gold. 1299. Get that sentient bodysuit. Anything else I want from this? Maybe the Seraphim sidekick, but I don't think we really want it. Okay. So for right now, we don't need Rook. I'm thinking of bringing in Remy. She's probably going to sit back for most of it. Yeah, she might sit back for most of it, more than likely. But that's okay. We need to get her better weapons so our summons are ready to go. Well, all we really need to do is grab a decent two-handed weapon. Probably a scythe. We will take the magic frags with us. Also, searching through this, I want the BAMP token. Everything else I can survive without. Okay, BAMP token. Familiar, BFF, and Last Laugh. Okay, so we got all that. What do we have in our stash? We of course have this. We could take the Heart of Daedalus, purely because it's just a blue die. The symbols don't matter for a summon. then Ares Lost Greaves actually gives plus HP if we really want it. Or we can take the Doomcaster. We do have a Doomcaster apparently on hand. We also have Hadron's Lost Bow, so we could just get two blues. So we actually can. We have weapons. We can definitely make something happen here. Get that going. Everything else here we can go without. Okay, so we got that to play with. This is going to be the shopping episode. Just FYI, it's going to be the shopping episode. Oh, we do have a Corpse Lotus, so let's go ahead and sell that for 200 gold. Puts us at $14.99. I could trade it in for an upgrade, but I'm not that desperate. Alright. We don't need the rice balls. We literally don't need them. Rook, you can hold on to them. So one thing I wanted to check with Last Laugh. Yeah, so any loyal Esper, it'll count. So this book is essentially just going to be a bomb. We don't need Racinda's Thirst. We don't need that at all. Rook. We're going to be switching things. There we go. Augmented Monocle for Remy. Seraphim Psychic for Zeke. I'm just kind of seeing what other options I have. To be honest, we don't need the Seraphim Psychic. It would be nice, but we don't need it. Instead, I'm actually going to give him the... we should have a Spare God thing, don't we? Yep, Spare God machine. This will give him some additional mobility. That way he can pop in, do possession, and then pop out. Don't really need him for much else. Seed of Rebirth is nice, but it's just going to be for reviving. So we got that. Trying to think exactly what all I want to play around with. I don't really need Hangover Elixirs for Shadeless, but I might need it for the home stretch. So here, you can have that. Everything else should be re-rolls. Okay, we are going to buy consumables. So let's spend 10 gold to get a Hangover Elixir. 14.89. We might be able to get away with not having the face token. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 34. So 34 gold for that. 34, we'll put it at 14.55. There you go. So we got all of that for us to play around with. I'm going to use the Chip Chitin to unlock something. We're gonna get do we need refined? We might be able to get away without it. I'm still gonna take it though, just in case. Yeah, so we're gonna unlock refine with that, with the chip chitin. And then for the tormented shackle, as much as I like it, I don't suppose we have any other items. Oh wait, we do have other monster loots. We have the poppet. We're gonna trade in the poppet. We'll trade in the poppet to unlock. Scrying. Okay. So we got those. And here's the, so I'm going to go ahead and spend, need to look up the upgrade cost. Alright, upgrade cost for uncommons 50, for rares it's 75. So I'm going to upgrade the morbid leather with refine for 50 gold. So that puts us at 1405. And then we're also going to get put scrying on the homemade brooch, which gives an exhaust ability to get +1 on conviction rolls. It'll cost 75 gold, putting us at 1330. Okay, so we got that going for us. All right. Hey, Al Rashid. I know you're hurting. Here, have this hardcore core. Don't say I never gave you anything. Actually, what's Patrick using? Charm of Ash. Okay, that's fine. He has no armor. Can we fix that? I mean, give him like a hand-me-down or something. Oh, actually, let's get Carapace of Entombment, which is a 200 gold cuirass. It's just like a normal cuirass, but it has conviction upgrade green, so 200 gold for that. It's a really good upgrade. I'm gonna go ahead and give that to Nightingale, or not Nightingale, but to Remy, and that'll make sure she has double greens for her conviction. It's not the best, but it's better than nothing. And then I can give the Marbus threads to Patrick. Sure, you can have the Marbus threads. How are you doing, Dimocles? You're still using a catsuit. You're probably going to be stuck using a catsuit for a while. Okay, so the question is what weapons do I want to give Remy? If I got a talisman, that would ensure I get that would ensure I have constant empower for everything. In which case it'll be blue and gray in empower for the summons. That's probably the best bet. So either that or we go just straight Hadron's or Lost Bow. But if I go Doomcaster, at least my I would have a blue casting die at that point. Oh, actually, I can fix that issue. Here, have a green casting die. Green casting die, and then you can have the bow. There you go. What weapons are you using? Alright, nothing of note. Alright, so here, have your bow. Augmented monocle. Charm of Ash. And you're gonna need both phase tokens. There you go. Can't give anything to Justice because she's unavailable. You at least have gear now. You can have the sentient bodysuit. Ring of Blood's tempting, just so it can give me a way of healing. Because at this point, I actually have no way of healing because I'm not taking Rook with us. If anything goes wrong, it's going to go wrong very, very, very badly. So Patrick. Sure, you can have the Tormented Shackle for now. I mean, to be honest, it's probably better on... I don't trust Zephyr is the problem. So I'm not going to give it to him. Alright, so this stuff can go here. This can go here as well. There. Bottomless Beverage. Oops. Oh, right. Don't you have Helping Hand? Yes, you do. Here, you can equip Gage's Collar. It'll be over here. Alright, and you can also carry an additional consumable. So, here. Have fun with that. Alright. Alright, and then the rest of the stuff. That. And all of that. Throwing knives are not going to be that helpful. Status effects are not going to be that helpful. We'll grab some hyper energies for the road. This can go in the stash. And that's what we're floating at right now. Zeke can use some new weapons. Let's be real, Zeke needs some new weapons. I could give him a Doomcaster staff. I could be cheeky and give him this. When an opponent ends their turn with an SOI, deal 3 damage. They just take 3 damage. Heart of Daedalus. And then what can we give him in the main hand? It's a ranged weapon, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Technically, I could go Equalizer, and that would be a blue die. Don't really feel like that, though. You have equipped, deal physical damage equal to the damage you were dealt by an enemy figure. No, not useful. I'm not casting spells, so no. Could equip a shield. Is there a buckler in here? A buckler, I think, would be nice for him. Deal yourself one irreducible check to roll any dice on your conviction check. Yeah, I think I'll do that. The problem is the symbols are just garbage. So he wouldn't be doing anything at all if I did it that way. I want to use the symbol. Actually, it's an exhaust ability, so you know what? Never mind. It's an exhaust ability, so no. So instead, we can try something else. All adjacent opponents have -1 defense. That's actually kind of nice. That's so much junk. When you deal damage to an opponent with an attack, gain a foul token. Oh, okay. And then you can throw grays. Adventurers pack. Actually, yeah, I can carry even more junk. I forgot. I have an Adventurers pack. We're gonna grab some beers. And just stack all these together. Pretty much the items I'm grabbing is mostly just for extra stamina, if I can toss them out on certain characters. Alright. So yeah, I think for the weapons, I'm just going to get him the best axes. It's either that or I go Edge of Madness and just go all in on that. I think I might go Edge of Madness and just hope I do damage. At the very least, I can take advantage of books then. So 265 to buy Edge of Madness. 265, that'll be, let's see, there's 930, and then it will go 865. Edge of Madness, bye-bye throwing axes. Actually, no, let's do Blood Torts. I think those are better. At least for Zeke, because he's not gonna be in the melee. If I have him in the melee, then everything went wrong, and it's not gonna save me anyway. So 320. It's gonna cost another 55 gold. So 810. Is that right? No, it's going to cost another 65 gold, so 800. Yeah, another 65 gold. All right. So there you go, double axes. I'm not gonna carry the axes with me. I mean, I could use them for part of the fight, but no, just no. I'm not taking dynamite, too risky. So this is what it's looking like. I actually didn't need to grab that much stuff because I mean I could gear up the other people. But inscribed shotgun, I mean I guess I can get some armor upgrades for some of these guys. Let's buy the other Carapace of Attunement, which is 200 gold. I'll put us at 600. And give that to Damocles. Oh, actually, I'll give it to Patrick. There you go, Patrick. Enjoy. Does mean you don't need this causality engine, though. So, never mind. There you go, Damocles. No more tier 2 armor for you. Alright. That's everything there. And, all that's really left is buying upgrades. Let's get Otherworldly. It's going to cost us 75 gold. Let's get Refined on Nightingale's armor for 50 gold. 475. And also give her Scrying. Actually, it's not going to help her, really. Same thing for Zeke, it's not going to really help her. Or him, sorry. I'll go ahead and get spin the 75 gold to get Otherworldly on Remy's bow, so she can attack if necessary. That's pretty much it. I mean, I could go and upgrade everyone else's stuff, but at this point, I know what's up ahead, and I'd rather just hold on to the gold, even though it's not going to do any good for me. We do have a healing with the Salvation Umbrella. That's pretty much the only reason why I'm keeping it on Shayless. She doesn't need the immunities, but having some way to heal her back to full is probably pretty key here. And yeah, I think that's everything. Everyone else is kind of just holding on to gear. Pretty much holding on to potions and items to hand off to the two main aces. I'm a little concerned because I don't have... So usually the setup for if you want to maximize damage against a big boss is you have an archer, your ace, and then you would have somebody that can do long range attacks with sinful privilege. So if I wanted to, I would try to get like Damocles up in here, but that ain't happening. Are you using... What are you using, by the way? You ignore armor if you do that. You're doing blade works. Okay. You could teleport there, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it be. Alright, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and dive right into Safe Passage. This item will go away. I'm going to make a save real quick, so be right back. Okay, so I'm going to try to get through the story bits and then do the final battle as a separate video. So, Safe Passage 446. After settling their equipment, Nightingale watched as Lakshmi packed up and turned to leave. Wait! Nightingale reached for her shoulder, but Lakshmi pulled away. Isn't it dangerous down here? Certainly. Lakshmi locked a set of eyes on Nightingale while another darted constantly around the room. Though selling gear to adventurers has always led me to dangerous places, I've never been somewhere quite like this. Aren't you worried you'll be attacked or get lost, or... You needn't worry. The keeper of this domain has assured me safe passage. Lakshmi held up a single finger. Nightingale thought she saw a wink, but it could simply have been one of her eyes blinking out of sync with the other. You mean the Shadow Lord? Nightingale's jaw dropped. Why would he do that? We all have destinies, even those who aren't human. Lakshmi squinted and thought. Or perhaps he thought a better armed enemy would be more amusing to him. Lakshmi turned and left, dragging her strange bag behind her. Spirits, 449. They continued into the dark for what felt like days. Every step wore the fear down, threatening to make him collapse with exhaustion. He knew the others felt the same. He could see the fatigue and fear on their faces, but he couldn't give up. Justice was still down there. They were so far underground that the rocks themselves radiated heat. Zeke could feel the pressure of all that earth above him, which made it hard to think. The caverns were all gone, replaced with smooth chambers expertly carved from the stone. Eventually they descended another set of steps. Scratches and gouges marred the stone, indicating a well-traveled route. Many creatures have probably gone up and down that causeway, yet nothing had come for them. The stairwell led them through a set of stone doors and into a round hall, a junction of many passages lined with sealed doors. The blood led across the room to one of the many doors. We must be getting close, Remy said. We've been going for hours. There can't be much more down here, can there? Shayla shook her head. I hope you're right. The Eyrie burrows through the rock for miles. Even before it was sealed, no one had a map. At least we can follow the trail back up, Rook said. We won't need to wander around if we have to leave in a hurry. They continued across the room, following a trail of blood. Then the Shadow Lord appeared in the air in front of them, causing them to come to a sudden halt. It tilted its head slightly as it looked them over. I do not understand how you have come so far, it said. 1,000 deaths awaited you in my domain. Drops from hundreds of feet, licks of acid, ravenous monsters, geysers of lava. Yet you somehow avoided all of them. No one spoke. Zeke stared at the floor where the trail of blood they had been following still shone red and wet. The Shadow Lord followed his gaze. You either made a lucky guess, or you had help. I assume this is the obscene Rescindo's work. Though I'm not sure how you got that coffin to say anything. Won't share its secrets or its soul. Did you kill him? To pry out his secrets? The Shadow Lord paused. It doesn't matter now. Though for what it's worth, I hope you killed him. I really hated that man. Zeke's eyes widened. Man? You didn't know. The coffin was once human, like you. His body decayed long ago, but his spirit stayed out of my reach within the receptacle he created. He was a nuisance, stealing essence that was rightfully mine. The Shadow Lord brought his hand down, pointing at the trail of blood, and a faint blue line followed the gesture. It struck the trail on the ground, and the whole thing exploded into red mist. Zeke turned in horror to see the trail behind him faded into patches of red. The trail leading deeper vanished as well, without leaving so much as a stain on the rock. He thought to send you, did he? Lead you right into my home? The Shadow Lord looked up again, and the pale wisp of light from within its hood turned into a bonfire. Zeke still remembered the correct door. He chanced to step toward it, though he wasn't sure what they would do once they got past the Shadow Lord. With the blood gone, the Eyrie would be a dangerous maze, as the Shadow Lord had said. The Shadow Lord slid in the air until it was in front of Zeke, its body glowing so brightly that he had to look away. A strange gravity had started the fall of the Shadow Lord, attracting dust and small pebbles from the ground to spin around it in a self-contained whirlwind. I am no longer amused with your progress, it said, gesturing with both hands. Every one of the massive doors slammed open. My servants will come for you here. When they finish you, I will send them above to join those who have already escaped. Know in your last moments that many will die because of you. The Shadow Lord dissolved. In the distance, Zeke heard what sounded like a stampede of feet, claws, and tentacles. Zeke heard the wails of the dam, a chorus of every poor creature that had ever died down here. Even those who had not started as monsters had been twisted into them by the Shadow Lord's power, made into something terrible, forced to serve even in death. Behind him, he saw that Nightingale and Shayless were back to back with weapons drawn, nervously edging together. At their side, Rook grabbed Remy and spun her to face a different direction. "They're coming," he yelled. Hundreds of ghostly visages spilled into the room around them, screaming in terror and pain like a cacophony of angry birds. "What do we do?" Nightingale screamed at Shayless. The Maluma recoiled inside of her, and the feeling of it made her want to hide too, though she knew it wouldn't do any good. Shayless inhaled loudly, but nothing escaped her mouth. She seemed as paralyzed with fear as the rest of them. "Coward!" Zeke roared, sudden fury boiling in him. He couldn't have said where it had come from, but he didn't back away. All of his anger, frustration, and pain spilled out. He couldn't hold back now. He glared right at where the Shadow Lord had been. You hide behind your slaves. You're too afraid to face us yourself." The Shadow Lord's ghostly visage became solid, and the multitude of creatures all suddenly went still, frozen as if stopped in time. "Say that again," it commanded. "You're a coward." "All you had to do was ask," the Shadow Lord replied, its flames dying back into an eerie blue. At once, the doors all around the room slammed closed. Only the one the blood trail had pointed at remained open. The sound of the army stopped, leaving a strange silence in its place. All around them, images of enslaved spirits slowly phased out of existence until they were left alone in the room. "I will be waiting for you," the Shadow Lord said. Then it vanished. Nobody moved. Zeke felt like he could still see the Shadow Lord looming over him, with its hands ready to clamp down on his throat. "That was incredibly stupid," Shayla said, glaring at Zeke. "If it wanted to." "It worked, didn't it?" Zeke shrugged. "Now it's going to let us through. What were we supposed to do, fight a whole army of ghosts on our own?" Shayla ground her teeth but didn't argue. For better or worse, Zeke had bought their way forward. The single open path led through a vast chamber lined with grotesque statues and toward a set of double doors that hung open with a maw threatening to swallow them whole. They traveled slowly down the hall, their steps echoing off the high ceiling. Remarkable artistry was displayed in a line of statues that captured exact moments of death with vivid clarity. As they neared the doors, there was a flash of violet light from behind them, and suddenly Suri was there. Her ghostly form just drifted up to the doors. "You can't go any further, Rook." "We have to," Rook answered. "If we don't, Justice is dead, and Nightingale too." "You don't understand," Suri practically screamed. "You can't win. It's a god. Your weapons won't even hurt it. They can't. If you fight this creature, he'll kill all of you." "I'm sorry," Rook said, reaching for her shoulder with a comforting hand. "We have to go. We'll figure something out. We made it this far, didn't we?" "No," Suri retreated. "I'm not going to watch you die." She vanished in a faint flash of purple light, and the pendant around Rook's neck went dull. He stood still, wearing a grim expression. "Let's finish this." The doors opened into a mockery of a throne room, a sprawling hall lined with pillars stained with filth and rot. Torches blazing with a ghostly blue light were affixed to each one, casting the entire room in a cool twilight. Beside the central aisle was a pile of bodies. Many were human, many were not, and most had decayed past the point of identification. Zeke progressed timidly with his weapon raised. The stench was awful, but mitigated somewhat by the constant draft blowing in from behind them. God help us if we have to fight downwind. A throne sat at the far end of the room. It wasn't made of metal, wood, or stone. Instead, writhing spirits had been forged into a chair, their faces screaming in perpetual agony. The Shadow Lord sat upon his tortured souls, and they burned with the same ghostly light of the torches surrounding him. On the ground beside the throne, Justice was curled into a weak ball. Zeke looked closely and could see the piece of the Pontifex still on its strap, secured around her neck. "Justice," he called, sprinting the rest of the way toward the throne. She didn't stir. "Give her back," Zeke spat. He stood about 10 feet back, out of the reach of the Shadow Lord. The Shadow Lord sat up straight, watching as the rest of their feeble party lined up beside Zeke. Each one was armed and ready to fight. "I am impressed. It has been so long, very long, since anyone has attracted my attention as you have. You fought bravely. You even managed to exploit my enemies. I will therefore offer you what few other mortals have ever received. A bargain." Zeke nodded for it to go on, his weapon drooping a little. "I will give you Justice, but one of you must take her place," it said. "Ha!" Nightingale scoffed. "No chance in hell. We're not—" She trailed off, staring at Rook as he stepped out of line. He set his weapon down, then spread his arms wide. "I'll do it." He didn't hesitate as he stared down the Shadow Lord. Take me. Shut up, Rook, Nightingale barked. Don't be stupid. Rook turned and met her eyes, unflinching. Not this time, Nightingale. It's my duty to protect you. Saving justice is the only way I can guarantee you'll be safe. No, Remy squeaked, reaching out for Rook's wrist with one nervous hand. You can't. Rook pulled away, shaking his head. I'm sorry. If this is what I have to do, it's what I have to do. Zeke wanted to argue, but he didn't get the chance. Shayless beat him to it. We don't know that we would get justice back even if we do give yourself up, Rook. Do not impugn my word. All the lights in the room flickered to faint blue embers, casting them in a sudden gloom. All the Shadow Lord's terrible outline remained bright, leering down at them. My oath is absolute. I swear that, if you accept my terms, you will have safe passage to Greyhaven. I promise nothing further. My subjects will attempt to slaughter your city and those who try to stop them, but when I swear I do no violence against you while you're in my domain, I will honor that promise. It rose from its throne and descended a series of stone steps, moving toward them. You fail to see the generosity of my offer. I could extinguish all your pitiful lives. I've been offered a great deal in exchange for this girl. He motioned to Justice. Powers beyond your realm are willing to pay dearly for her and all she carries. Sharon? Rook asked. Perceptive. The Shadow Lord leaned to one side before continuing. Very curious. I'm unsure how you know anything about that. In any case, no one outside of this realm would have interest in any of you. Your souls are worthless. Consider my offer while it is still before you. Reject it, and I'll happily enslave you until you are nothing but mindless husk, begging for the blissful release of non-existence. The Shadow Lord stopped at the base of the stairs and folded his arms. The torchlights returned to the brighter but still uneven light. Refuse me, and you will know 1,000 deaths. You will watch your own hands commit debauchery beyond your comprehension, and you will revel in it. You have been courageous to reach me, but you do not confuse brashness for bravery. If you survive this encounter, it will be only at my pleasure. Rook turned toward Nightingale. I'm your knight. It's my duty to protect you. This isn't a fight we can win. Our only hope is to give it what it wants. There has to be another way, Nightingale shouted, desperate and afraid. We could fight it. Zeke turned, his knuckles white and wrapped tightly around his weapon. This is bigger than any of us. It knows Charon. What if Zephyr and the Anointed aren't crazy? What if this Charon really could use the Pontifex to free itself? This trade doesn't just save Nightingale, it helps save the world. Rook's voice was resolute, his expression hard. Charon is none of our concern right now, Shayless said flatly. But you're right. This is bigger than any of us. Greyhaven still needs to be warned. They need to be helped. Shayless put a hand on Nightingale's shoulder. I can't choose this for you, but your knight is willing. Few who have ever served our family gave themselves for a better cause. You want Rook to sacrifice himself? Nightingale asked, horrified. We can't kill it, Knight, Shayless said. This is bullshit. Damocles brushed his hair aside and stepped forward. Nightingale, anything can be killed. We can't let this loose on the city. Shayless scoffed. Anything can be killed? Have you been paying attention? This thing has the power over life and death. The Shadow Lord chuckled. It didn't move. If anything, it seemed to be enjoying the scene. Damocles threw it a dirty look. If the Anointed are right about Charon being after the Pontifex, then it was the one controlling Echo all along. Which means Echo was really being controlled by the Soul Stitcher, and her story about the Soul Stitcher being part of the Council is true, Rook finished for him. Damocles nodded. Charon was behind everything in Hyde. Remy stepped forward with both arms wrapped tightly around Gage. I don't think we should leave our friend behind, no matter what the cost. I'll do whatever you think is best, Knight. Seeing the mixture of fear and courage in Remy's face made Nightingale feel lucky to have her as a friend. If Remy followed her into the Eyrie, she would follow her anywhere. Patrick? Nightingale glanced at him, desperate for help. Working at the inn, you hear a lot of stories about unkillable monsters, gods, abominations, and all sorts of other tall tales. He looked at Shayless. I'd rather not endanger anyone I love, but if I have to die, I can't imagine a more epic way to go than this. Enough! The Shadow Lord boomed, shaking the ceiling overhead. My patience is running thin. Decide now, or I will. Do the players have the story flag all we can get? I don't think we do. No. Continue below. Do the players have Reluctant Partnership and Helping Hand? Yes. So we go to Promise Me. So just to be sure. Reluctant Partnership and Helping Hand. So yeah, we have both. So we go to Promise Me 453. You wouldn't be the first god I've seen die, Zephyr said, stepping forward beside Rook. Are you certain that's what you want? Shadow Lord asked. Zephyr dropped his weapon just as Rook had done. I could fight, but I won't. And I'm not sure these children have it in them. He turned back and looked at Nightingale. We need the Pontifex and justice to stop Charon. Keeping Middara safe from him is all that matters. I die here, and you can walk free. Zephyr! The Echo rushed to his side, grabbing one of his arms with her bound hands. No, you can't do this. We need you. I need you. The Shadow Lord watched Zephyr, clearly amused. You're willing to die for those you hate. Zephyr ignored Echo. I made a promise to the princess, and I'm guided by a higher purpose. One that means stopping Charon. This is our best chance. You can't, Echo continued. You're more valuable than all of them put together. Zephyr finally looked at Echo and touched her cheek. Stopping Charon is what matters. I have lived my life for this purpose, and I can die for it as well. Tears welled up in Echo's eyes as he wrapped his arms around her. She buried her face in his chest. If I do this, Princess, Zephyr said to Nightingale, you need to keep your promise to me. Echo doesn't deserve this fate. You must free her from the Soul Stitcher's grip. This isn't your choice to make, Shayla said, her voice clear. Neither of you. Nightingale gets to decide. Rook is her knight, and she's the one who needs the Pontifex. Nightingale backed up, her tail curling around her leg, and her hands started to shake. She whimpered, glancing between Rook and Zephyr, then back to her sister. What do you think we should do? I think you should turn someone over. It's probably our best option. Shayla's removed her own weapon from its sheath. But back when Patrick and I went adventuring together, we never would have left someone behind, not even an insane asshole like Zephyr. Everyone says the Shadow Lord can't be killed, but has anyone tried? We made it this far. I say we find out. Your call, Princess, Damocles said, drawing his own weapon. All eyes were on Nightingale. Even the unfathomable Shadow Lord was watching her. Everyone waited for her decision. So, with this, you actually have the option to also sacrifice Zephyr if you really want to. Much like my personal playthrough, I didn't trade anyone. Like I said, it's optional to fight this thing, but I can't imagine a group that would give up Rook. I cannot imagine that. Especially a fate worse than death. So, a poor choice, 459. Boop, 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 boop. Alright, poor choice. Alright, I've made up my mind, Nightingale said, walking forward. Rook's eyes widened and he turned to stop her. You can't. There's no way in hell I'd put you in danger just to... No, Nightingale said, tightening her grasp on her weapon. We don't leave anyone behind. What's worth fighting for if it's not the people you love? You refuse my offer, the Shadow Lord asked, sounding more amused by the second. I will have all of you as my playthings instead of just one, Nightingale answered by raising her weapon. I don't believe in gods. The Shadow Lord laughed so loudly that the sound shook the cavern overhead. It wasn't just his voice. Hundreds of corpses all through the area were laughing along with him. Each of them, from the skeletal remains to the freshly dead, turned their heads to watch. Very well, Princess. I'll take all of your souls. The Shadow Lord held a thin hand out as a wave of enslaved spirits rushed forward from behind his throne. And here we are. The final battle. Six enslaved spirits. You've decided to challenge the Shadow Lord. You can't just sacrifice someone without trying to do something. The wretched specter floats above, preparing to strike. Even without a face, it seemed to be smiling. You draw your weapons and hope you aren't making a big mistake. Shadow Lord's throne room. The aura of the Shadow Lord is so strong in this room that the spirits of the dead cannot leave under any circumstances. Anytime a figure other than an enslaved spirit is dead, spawn an enslaved spirit. These enslaved spirits are always considered opponents to adventurers. Blah, blah, blah. Shadow Lord. At 200 damage, it does something. At the start of its turn. So the keyword's the start of the turn, not the end. Same thing here. At 250, it has stuff. Goal is to kill it. defeat is obviously if we all get defeated. We already know about enslaved spirits. There's not much to talk about on the map. There's some areas you can kind of tuck into. We do start in the pit down here in the middle, and that's it. Shadow Lord. 500 HP, 15 defense, 4 movement, 4 armor. It's hulking, colossal crush, unstoppable protection, and immunity to negative effects. The key word here is negative. Nemesis is a special effect. It's not negative, so you can actually apply it to the Shadow Lord. It's the only thing you could put on the Shadow Lord. The Shadow Lord only uses line of sight when determining the target of a spell. Now, it is colossal, so it will see over people. When an opponent ends their turn adjacent to the Shadow Lord, inflict wilt, and it looks like there's no force to that. When an opponent ends their turn within the Shadow Lord's line of sight, they're inflicted with a disease at force 15. So yeah, bunch of status effects. It has essentially 4 actions. One of them it only does once, which is if it has 90 damage or more, it will do an AoE spell that does blue damage and it'll heal. There is no conviction check for that. It's just a raw blue magic damage. And then if it'll check to see if there's anyone adjacent. If so, it'll attack 4 times. Now, unlike most bosses, the Shadow Lord does not have an empower die. It's just 2 blues. Every 2 shields is +3 physical. Every burst is +3 magic. And books don't do anything, surprisingly. Is there an opponent within line of sight? It will swap places with the farthest opponent within line of sight, then cast a spell against all opponents within line of sight to deflect wilt. If they're already wilted, it inflicts condemn. And then it'll cast another spell on everyone within line of sight that does 3 magic damage plus difference rolled against a failed conviction check. And then otherwise, if it can't cast any spells on anybody, it will start moving towards the nearest opponent. And since it's unstoppable, it'll eventually just crush all the walls. So, yeah, that is what we're looking at right now. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. When we come back, we will do this final battle. I'm probably going to get some sleep first, though. But I am The Depressed Eeyore. This was Middara on Tabletop Simulator. Sorry for the long shop phase, but as you can see, I had to get prepared for this very moment. See you guys next time.